Hello, I'm going to share my recipe book project with you. This book was a part of my 2018 recipe project. At the beginning of the year, I decided to try at least one new recipe each week. I stuck to the schedule and did try something new most weeks, but some weeks I tried more than one, other weeks I didn't do any. So I think it averaged out in the end, and we had more variety in our diet and our meals were healthier. And we also ate out less. At the same time, I decided to do a book to show the recipes. I purchased 2 copies of this Better Homes and Gardens new cookbook, and I got both of them for probably less than $1 or about $1 for 2 from our public library sale. And each month I went through and I tried to create make a creative page for each recipe that I did. So this is what I ended up with. First, this is the cover. I did this at the very end, and I decoupaged or put, these are fabric. Actually, it's all fabric except for the title. And this is kind of my quote for the year. True healthcare reform starts in your kitchen, not in Washington. I covered this. I put origami paper on and then paper over that for my quote, and I put fabric for this. I'm doing this video is just the first project, the first part of it, book 1, from January to July. And of all the recipes, I had 6 bread type recipes, 2 condiments, 7 dessert, 8 entrees, 1 salad, and 11 soups. And then I listed all of the recipes here. At the beginning of each month, I took a picture, and this is of my spices in my kitchen for January, my spice rack. And I left some of the old pages, not all of them, and I don't think I'm going to do that this year, but I left a few of the older pages from the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. And in January, I did ginger carrot soup, and my theme was kind of snowflakes. I also did mushroom and spinach risotto, snowflakes, and the recipe on both sides. Lemon chickpea orzo soup. And that was it for January. Now, some of my recipes are easier than others to read. This is an art project, not a recipe book. February, these are some of my kitchen utensils. I especially like these King Arthur flour, these whisks. I really use them a lot. And this is a pan I have. And in February, I used red as a theme with origami paper here. I did lentil orzo soup, and what I did with each recipe, I just printed it out or made a copy and then tried to arrange it creatively. 7-day weight loss soup, Wonder Soup. We use this all the time. It's basically just a cabbage soup, but it's really good. I had one major epic fail in February, actually in the whole year. This was my worst recipe, and this was butter tarts, and it was just awful. I don't know whether it was the way I cooked it or the recipe, but this one goes down as an epic fail. I didn't even want to show it. I also had homemade vegetable broth, which I use this recipe all the time also, and a snowflake here. And then this recipe was, I took I made vanilla cupcakes. I made them from scratch. I buy a box, and I actually made the cupcakes from scratch, and I made the buttermilk chocolate layer cake and vanilla cupcakes. I think I used the frosting. The cheese, this is what I used, the cream cheese chocolate frosting on top of the vanilla cupcakes. And I made a couple of origamis there. I like origami. Put this back in. I also did 3 dal soup, origamis, and that was a great recipe. That was from Plant Street Culinary Gym. This year I'm trying to include more of where I got the recipes. Last year in 2018 I just sort of put them in. March, green for the St. Patrick's Day theme, and these are my bowls. photograph of my bowls. And again, I did include some of the pages from the old cookbook, which I kind of like, but I kind of don't want to do it again this year. I started doing sourdough bread, naturally leavened sourdough bread. And I love sourdough bread, and I'm still doing that in 2019. Marble bundt cake, Italian quinoa and lentils. And I did, going back to the bundt cake, I tried to buy everything that I needed, including the pans, which this pan back here, did I have it? No, I guess it was in the last one. Anyway, I purchased whatever was needed for the recipe, so my kitchen is much more well-stocked than it was. Italian quinoa and lentils, forks and knives. This one I'm going to pull and use this year. Irish white bean and cabbage stew. That was really good. April, these are my sourdough. I do my sourdough in jars, and I have a King Arthur crock that I use also. Again, more pages from Better Homes and Gardens. Farmer's Almanac, they have a lot of really great recipes. Hot cross buns. I made this with my grandson. And I also made this with my grandson. Golden vegetable quinoa bites. And I just took a piece of like oak tag from a magazine. Monster cookies. Again, origami paper. The recipe pages. Another magazine piece. This was Instant Pot curried carrot red lentil soup. Herb sourdough crackers. I did a lot with sourdough this year. Instant Pot Parmesan garlic orzo, which was delicious. Sourdough English muffins. I did a lot of baking. Okay, and May. The weather's getting hotter. It's Cinco de Mayo, and the pictures here are some of my appliances. This is, I guess, my husband's coffee grinder and coffee machine, and I love my toaster. I got that from Vermont Country Store. I've had it for years. It is wonderful. And again, they had pictures of cakes, so I included them. Kind of nice to do once, but I'm not going to do it again. Carrot, apple, ginger soup. And here I had some little cutouts that I added with that, and I have scissors that I use to cut the edges. Instant Pot, another detox soup. This one was delicious, but it kept us up all night. I mean, a few days into eating this soup, we found both my husband and myself were up all night, so we're not doing that one anymore. And I have, what is this? I'm not sure. Oh, sourdough chocolate chip cookies. And I made that a lot, and I varied the recipe, less sugar, more sourdough. Instant Pot vegetable quinoa soup. As you can see, I did more than one a week, many months. And I made hot oil, which I've got to do again. Actually, I've just used it all up. And I had several recipes for hot oil. I used olive oil and hot peppers and several other things. Okay, here we go. And June, this is my cupboard with, I have an old-fashioned, we live in a 100-year-old house, and I have a pantry, so these are things in the pantry. Here's the pantry, and here's our back window. Now, at the same time, I'm doing an art journal with Nina Ribena, and we were experimenting, or I was experimenting with stamps and painting, and I brought that into my into this activity too. Handy, and here's more of my experiment with inks and with acrylic paint. These are bottle lids, cinnamon raisin sourdough bread, quinoa and black bean salad. I have a magazine that had pages like this dividing different sections, and I've used them. They're really lovely. And then the best Instant Pot, another detox lentil soup. I think they put detox on anything that is healthy. And you can see I went crazy with the butterfly stamp and with the bottle caps here. And actually, I won't do this again because it made the recipes almost impossible to read here. July. This is over my door. These are my mother-in-law's things from Finland, all of them actually. I have them in my kitchen. Canning and freezing. Again, these are old, Better Homes and Gardens new cookbook pages that I included. And Instant Pot brown sugar baked beans. I, again, did the stamps, but I went a little less crazy this time. Sourdough cornbread. Tofu hot pot. This was from a book called Good and Cheap, which the proceeds were donated to getting recipe books to people who really could use them. The meals were all very inexpensive. It's a great cookbook. And this is from Good and Cheap also. I guess that's the same recipe. And this is for blueberry cobbler. Oh, it says dal. So this is a dal recipe, not for the other. And then and about this book, and I have an end piece right here. And that's the end of part 1. So I'm going to go on and do the same thing for part 2. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope maybe you got some ideas of cooking projects to do and creative art journal type projects. So thanks for watching.